Alright, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be looking at standard 6.2.4 to explain how to divide positive fractions. That's what we will be examining today, dividing positive fractions. Our objectives are that all students will be able to recognize similarities and differences between multiplication and division problems involving fractions and mixed numbers. Also, to correctly divide fractions and mixed numbers to solve real-world problems. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to the lesson. If we just take a quick examination of multiplying fractions, we have 2/3 times 3/4. And the first step that I want to follow is to use cross-canceling to simplify. I rewrote it, and I'm going to use cross-canceling. Where is that possible? We have here a 3 and a 3 that can be canceled out. What we're doing is we're dividing the numerator and denominator by 3. And we also have a 2 and a 4. 2 goes into 2 one time, and 2 goes into 4 twice. Then we need to move to our next step. Our next step tells us that we should multiply the numerators and then multiply the denominators. So if we look at this particular example, we have 1 times 1 is 1, and 1 times 2 would give us 2. So our new fraction will be 1/2. The last step, we just want to check and make sure that it is in simplest form. So simplify if possible. Pretty straightforward. Now, if we're multiplying mixed numbers, the first step, as we recall, is to convert mixed numbers to improper fractions. So I convert 2.5 times 2 2/3 into the improper fractions. 5/2 times 8/3. The next step, just like the last problem, is to use cross-canceling to simplify, if possible. So let's see if we can simplify this. 2 goes into the denominator once, and 2 goes into the numerator 4 times. What I did was I divided by 2/2. Remember, that's the same thing as dividing by 1, which does not change the value. It just simplifies the fraction. Now, our next step is to multiply the numerators and then multiply the denominators. So when we multiply 5 times 4 and 1 times 3, we get 20/3. Finally, our last step is to simplify if possible, and in this one we want to change that into a mixed number. It was an improper fraction, now it's a mixed number. Your answer is 6 2/3. The next thing I want to do is examine dividing fractions. So if we bring this up to the top, we can look at a problem of 1/2 divided by 1/8. The first step says to multiply by the reciprocal of 1/8. We'll get to talking about the reciprocal a little bit at the end of the lesson. But here you see we're taking 1/2 times the reciprocal. Some subtle changes that are taking place from the beginning step to this next step. The next step says use cross-canceling to simplify. And this might sound kind of similar to multiplication at this point. Here you can see the cross-canceling to simplify. Then we're going to multiply the numerators and then multiply the denominators. So we have 4/1. And our next step is to simplify if possible. Again, this can be simplified into 4. When we look at dividing mixed numbers, once again, the first step, convert mixed numbers to improper fractions. Here's our improper fractions. Notice what we did, we converted them to improper fractions. The second step says to multiply by the reciprocal. There's that word reciprocal again. So notice what is taking place from this step to this step. Alright. The following step will be to use cross-canceling to simplify if possible. And we could cancel the 7 and the 21, dividing them both by 7. And we can also cancel 2 and the 4, dividing them both by 2. Our next step is to multiply the numerators and then multiply the denominators. So again, 3 times 2 is 6, and 1 times 1 is 1. So our new fraction is 6 over 1. The last step, to simplify if possible, and it is possible. That's equal to 6, the whole number 6. Moving on to the next page. Here we get to take a look at some of the similarities and differences between multiplying fractions and dividing fractions. If you notice, step 1 in multiplying fractions is exactly the same as step 2 in dividing fractions. The same is true for step 2 in multiplying and step 3 in dividing. And the last step is also exactly the same. So the only difference between multiplying fractions and dividing fractions is this step right over here, multiplying by the reciprocal of the number following the division sign. When we look at multiplying mixed numbers and dividing mixed numbers, we can again see step 1 is exactly the same, converting the mixed number to an improper fraction. We can also see that step 2 is the same as step 3. Step 3 is the same as step 4. And step 4 is the same as step 5. So the only new addition or difference between multiplying mixed numbers and dividing mixed numbers is multiplying by the reciprocal of the number following the division sign. Let's take a look. What is a reciprocal? A reciprocal is, by definition, a reciprocal, a number or two numbers are reciprocals if the product or their product is 1. So product means to multiply, and here if the product is equal to 1, then that's considered a reciprocal. If I don't use cross-canceling, 8 times 7 is 56, and 7 times 8 is 56. We know any number over itself or divided by itself is equal to 1. So this is the definition of a reciprocal. And what do you notice about this number from the original number, 8/7? That's right. The numerators and denominators basically just switched places. That's what a reciprocal is. To find the reciprocal of a number, we need to switch the numerators and denominators. Here's another example. We write the whole number 9 as 9 over 1 in fraction form. So the reciprocal would be to switch the numerators and the denominator, which would give us 1/9. Right? And if we had multiplied these two numbers, the product again would be 9 over 9, which is equal to 1. That's the definition of a reciprocal. Let's try some practice problems. Go ahead and practice these on your own. For the first one, you should have gotten 4/5. That is the reciprocal when we switch the numerator and the denominator. For the second one, you should have gotten 7/6. Here we have some more practice problems. What did you get for the third one? 10/7 is correct. And the last one, this is pretty tricky. Remember, 4 as a whole number can be written as 4 over 1. So the reciprocal is, 1/4. Excellent. Now we're ready to start dividing fractions. When dividing, remember to follow the first rule is the only difference between dividing and multiplying fractions. That first rule says to multiply by the reciprocal of the number following the division sign. So instead of dividing here, I'm actually going to take my first number, 7, times the reciprocal of this number. So I'm going to take 7 times 5, over 3, the reciprocal. Notice that this number did not change. Now I'm ready to multiply. I'm going to write this as a fraction, 7 over 1 times 5/3. The next step is to multiply the numerators, since I can't simplify, and multiply the denominators. Now I need to simplify my improper fraction. 3 goes into 3 once, remainder of 0, bring down the 5, 3 goes into 5 one time, and I have 2 remaining. This is 2 parts out of 3. 2 out of 3 can be written as 2/3. Your answer is 11 2/3. Well, I hope this helped you with dividing fractions. Have a good day.